can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Vikram Seth. You can check him out at simpalmstaffing.com and Ducknowl. It's duck in the letter N and then owl.com. And Vikram, before I formally introduce you, Vikram has a fascinating background, fascinating journey, which we're going to dig into. Before I do, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast people should check out. There was a really good one with Nicole Donnelly. She talked about different AI tools, and Vikram and I know each other through EO. And so Nicole is a fellow EO member. Another one that was interesting was David Anderson, CEO of Off Madison Avenue, also in EO. Just talked about vision and the company and kind of how they grew their business. And Ethan King of EO Atlanta. And he's got a couple companies. And so check that episode out as well. And this episode is brought to you by Rise 25. Rise 25, we help businesses connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. We do that in a few ways. Number one, we're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do the strategy, accountability, and the full execution and production. Number two, we're an easy button for a company's gifting. So we make gifting and staying top of mind for your clients, partners, prospects, even your staff. Simple, easy, and affordable. You just give us a list, and we do everything else. It's not less of like one-off. We like to send a campaign of gifts. So think every 4 months for 4 to 5 years. All right. For me, Vikram, I think much like yourself, the number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways on how I can give to my best relationships. And I found no better way over the past 15 years than to profile the people and companies I admire on the podcast and also send them sweet treats in the mail. So if you have questions, go to rise25.com or email support@rise25.com. I am really excited to introduce Vikram Seth. He's the founder of Simpalm, and they create niche digital solutions for companies. They also have a staffing solution where they're focused on Latin America, a virtual assistant staffing company, which we'll get into. He's also, if he wasn't busy enough with that, he's co-founder of Ducknowl, which is a talent screening and assessment platform. So basically, the platform helps you to save time, reduce cost, and screen the best talent. And the two companies help U.S. businesses scale through technology and top talent through Latin America. And his journey is very interesting. It's really, Vikram, I think you agree, the American dream of hard work, grit, washing dishes, to Georgetown, to building global teams. And I'm excited to have you. So thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you very much, Jeremy, for having me. And, thank you very much for all the kind words.
Start off, we're going to get into your background journey and how you got here, but just give people a simple overview of Simpalm and then Ducknowl.
Sure. I mean, Simpalm actually has been started almost like over a decade before me and my partner named Piyush Jain. I mean, when actually he started this company with a vision of, like the technology on the palm, right? What does that mean is if you see the name of the Simpalm, he was having a vision, SIM card on your palm so that, the custom solution, the mobile apps and everything that actually that's the vision of the, the company, the technology side. When I joined him actually as a partner, then actually, obviously, I mean, my whole background of my entire life story is all about the people, connection, relationship. And I brought the, like the people part into it, where actually we got heavily involved in technology staffing, where actually we work with a lot of enterprise clients here in US, such as Blue Cross Blue Shield, Best Buy, all those type of, the enterprise client. While working in the technology and staffing industry for almost like a 7, 8 year, we realized that there are some issue in the process. There are some issue in actually assessing the talent as well. So then actually we ended up creating another SaaS product called Ducknowl.
I guess this makes perfect sense. You're like, we have a staffing,
yes,
right? And we, you provide some niche digital solutions for companies. You're providing staff, and now you have to screen them, and you're spending a lot of time on that.
No, 100%. And Jeremy, I mean, there is a funny story behind it. I mean, we didn't have the intention to create Duck and All as a SaaS product. When actually me and Piyush, we developed this product, we developed to use this product internally. I mean, so that our process can get better. I mean, like when actually we submit the candidate to our enterprise client, because what our competitor was bigger companies, other staffing companies, they were a lot more bigger, they were a lot more workforce. Only edge that we have was, the technology background. So that's exactly what we did. I mean, rather hiring a lot of like the army of the people, which anyways we couldn't afford it, we ended up, the creating the technology. That technology can actually help us to get into the front of those hiring manager. So the entire Duck and All idea was just to use the product internally. And I was lucky enough, when actually we created this product. I mean, like a lot of our clients start asking, hey, by the way, what product that you guys are using? It's a great product. So this happened with us 4 or 5 times. And then I was lucky. I was surrounded with like, great minds like you, and they told me like, hey, maybe this is the time for you guys to create another company and make this product a SaaS product. So no more secret sauce anymore. So then actually, like me and Piyush actually, we came with the decision that, okay, you know what, we should actually make Duck and All as a SaaS product. And then actually we should start, letting other staffing companies or even the companies to know that, this is the right way to do assess the talent. So that's how the Duck and All came into existence.
What were the key features,
Mm.
Vikram, that you built into that for yourself that you found
Sure.
maybe weren't in other solutions or that was just important in this process?
See, I mean, the Duck and All is also a little, Duck and All is very close to my heart also because it also tell a little bit of my story as well. What happened? I mean, not necessarily. I mean, I personally feel like because I have an experience with that, I mean, sometimes resume doesn't speak much about your skill set, right? Specifically, I mean, or especially, I mean, like I'm talking about like, before AI, before Chat GPT, at that time when I was actually looking for like a job, I mean, maybe I was not very good in writing the resume, but that doesn't mean I'm not good at it. What actually I was good at it, but I never get a chance. What Duck and All does is, I mean, obviously, I mean, like a Duck and All give you a fair chance to showcase your skill set in a video format. So if you are not good in writing the resume, you will get another chance to present yourself in a video, right? And Duck and All also give you a chance, to showcase your skill set in a multiple choice question format, where actually if you are a strong candidate, your skill set actually will be displayed in your test result, right? So with all the data that actually have, I mean, whether actually is, analyzing your communication skill set via video or, like a uh, checking your skill set via multiple choice question test, I mean, that actually make you, I think competitive candidate in front of like a lot of other candidates. So basically, I mean, Duck and All sees the candidate beyond the resume. You know, I hope I answer your
Yeah,
question.
talk about the name.
Okay, the name. Well, I mean, the name is a funny story. I mean, obviously, I mean, when actually we were brainstorming the name, we want to have some name that actually has some sort of the, like the reasoning behind it. If you see the Duck and All, if you have ever seen the duck is trying to find the food from the mud. So duck actually has to go through a lot, to find the food from the mud. So exactly in the same analogy, I mean, like when the resume touches the Duck and All, so Duck and All, if the 50 people apply for the same job, Duck and All can tell you that who are the prioritized resume, which resume that you should go first to the recruiter. So basically, what duck analogy come from there, what try to find the best resume out of like, hundreds of resume. And the owl part comes from like owl is a symbol of wisdom in a lot of different cultures. You know, the owl part also come with our cameras. You are on the video camera. If you try to cheat, we have a AI proctoring as well. We will let recruiter know that you were trying to cheat, and our whole video aspect actually come from. And also we have over 350 different tests that covers technology, non-technology, psychometry test, so that's where the owl part comes. And if you combine both, so we came up with the name Duck and Owl.
You mentioned it could help catch cheaters. How does that work?
Well, I mean, for example, I mean, if we have seen that in the past when actually we were working in a technology side, if you send somebody a test, via link, anybody can do that test. I mean, like if you are sending that test to me, I mean, my friend sitting in India, they can do that. To stop that or to minimize that, actually, what we did is uh, we bring the concept of like a AI proctoring. For example, I mean, if you and all AI proctoring, if you try to, if for example, somebody else is taking your test or even you are taking your test, we take the random picture during the test. And also, if you try to navigate away from the screen, we record your screen, right? And all that information is going through recruiter. And also, I just want to mention one more thing. We are not doing anything without telling the candidate. Candidate is a fully aware of this functionality, right? So this actually will minimize, the situation or the scenario where actually, like somebody else is pretending you.
I noticed on your site there's a couple features as far as, you're screening candidates in a specific way. And I know companies have been sued for biases. Can you talk
Yes.
about how your software relates to that?
Correct. I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, like in our case, I mean, if any candidate apply, everybody get like, the video screening request, and all the candidate will get the same set of the questions, right? So, if all the candidates get the same set of the question, then actually the second round is we actually invite them for the technical screening, where every candidate receive the same set of the multiple choice question test. Definitely, I mean, our entire hiring is based on the merit. The first is, like how you are actually articulating, the how you are articulating yourself on the video. The second is, your result in the test. And all the data is documented. So if anybody want to see that, why you give a chance to Jeremy or Vikram, we have the proof for that. Hey, you know what? Jeremy made a great score and Jeremy answered all the video question in a very structured format. That's why the Jeremy got the interview request, or where actually we invited Jeremy for the final round of interview with us. So in my experience, that makes entire process, the data driven, and the bias free. And in addition to that, I mean, sometimes we have noticed that, our field where actually, Jeremy is a great candidate, but then there is a Vikram is a second best candidate, but we only have one job, right? But now we have this dynamic data. If tomorrow, I mean, I have a same job pop up, before even opening up the job and spending money on Indeed or LinkedIn, I will actually call Vikram first because I know that Vikram was my second best candidate when actually I was working for this job, a month before. So basically, Ducknowl helps you to create a dynamic library of the candidates.
I'm curious, you've helped companies hire tens of thousands of people over the years.
Yeah.
What are the biggest mistakes you see people making with the hiring process?
Yeah, I mean
I mean,
in my
maybe ones you made early on before you had all
I
these
mean in
fancy
my
tools.
experience, I mean, I personally believe that I mean nothing is perfect, right? I believe that, when you hire somebody, I mean, you gotta need to be patient enough. The first month is gonna be the storming phase, right? It's not like that the candidate is gonna come and start delivering it. No, that's not gonna happen. It's a storming phase, and then actually it's gonna be the forming phase where actually the person is gonna assimilate to your team. Then there is gonna be the norming phase when everything is gonna be the normal, and then is gonna be performing phase, right? And I feel like the biggest mistake the people do that. I mean, sometime, I mean, I've seen a lot of project, you know, they they ended up losing a great candidate in the hope of the finding a great candidate,
Why?
right? Why? I mean, because they want a perfect candidate. They want to have a perfect skill set. They want to have a perfect
Mm,
communication skill. They want to have a perfect psychology, or psychometry test. So what does that mean? Is you are actually dependent upon a lot of different variables. Yes, you can do that, but then you forget to align your project timelines. If you want to deliver your project in a certain time frame, but you are taking too much time to hiring the right skill set, right? And as I said earlier, I mean, but at the same time, we have a lot of clients who follow this model. I mean, where they understand that, hey, you know what, we need a right skill set, and the right amount of the attitude. They understand that there is going to be a certain part where they have to compromise, and they do that, in a hope that, hey, but the first month is going to be the storming, you know, and the performing is going to come after a few weeks. you
You
know.
think people have really like super high expectations and need to, first train some people first?
I mean, Jeremy, I mean, we deal with the technology resources as well as the non-technology resources, but you're absolutely right. I mean, when some people or some business owner, I mean, they believe that, I mean, if they hire somebody, that somebody is going to come with a magic stick and they're going to solve the problem, right? But I personally feel like, what, when you hire somebody, somebody is coming to your home, you know, and it's your responsibility to make that person feel comfortable in your onboarding process, right? Once the person feel comfortable, I mean, then definitely the person has a skill set. You had an interview, we vet the candidate, then that person will deliver. But first of all, make the person feel comfortable in your organization. So
Once
onboarding is very
once
important.
there's like, let's say you get, there's several people that come through this whole process. Maybe there's like three people. Are there certain best practices or mistakes you see? Okay, now we're actually gonna conduct a interview, right? Because Ducknowl helps kind of sift
Correct.
through hundreds, maybe thousands of
Yeah.
candidates at points, to now you're talking to a couple people. So what are some best practices when you're actually interviewing them?
See, I mean, the duck and all does one thing. I mean, for example, if you are my client, right, and my team is actually sharing the duck and a result, the one thing happen, you already know the candidate. So when actually as a client, actually you go and actually start having an interview with the candidate, you think that you already know the candidate because you already have seen the video, right? You already actually know that actually in terms of the communication, how candidate was, performing. So then actually, obviously, I mean, then actually within a 30 minutes, I mean, you will able to understand that whether you want to go with this candidate or not, because what we have noticed that, I mean, if any of our client give an interview based upon duck and all video interview plus skill assessment, 90% there is a probability they will hire the person, right? Because as you said, I mean, anyways, I mean, our team actually has vetted the candidate, duck and all has vetted the candidate. So anyways, they're only getting two or three candidate to pick, you know, and out of the two or three candidate, if they interview any one candidate or two candidate, 90% they're going to hire either one. So that shorten the cycle.
There's an example. You mentioned the storming and then forming.
Yeah.
Um, there was an example where there was an unlikely recruitment process at a gas station.
Yeah, I mean, because we work with a lot of business owner as well, and I think that specific example come from the retail. I mean, uh, the particular business owner own a couple of pizza store or pizza franchisee. Most of the business owner actually, I think, in my opinion, I mean, they made this mistake. I mean, try to try to become a chief of everything, right? And obviously, I mean, when actually you are in such a retail, like a business, obviously you have a lot of chaotic environment. You gotta need to order a food, you gotta need to have a logistic control, you gotta need to make sure the pizza looks good, the temperature is good, the employees in showing up. So actually this particular business owner actually, try to be everywhere, right? But also at the same time, he wanna grow 10x as well. I mean, as you know that, I mean, both are two actually the wrong assumptions. So when actually we came into the play, we told him, why don't you actually hire somebody who can actually optimize your operation? And his explanation was, I mean, I cannot afford somebody. I mean, in a six,
Because he
right?
had a chain of pizza
Correct. He had a chain
places.
of pizza, right? But obviously, I mean, he doesn't have that kind of the budget to afford somebody actually who can do that. I mean, and managing five or six different pizza store. Then actually, we actually try to explain them. What all those tasks that actually you're telling us that can be done from anywhere. You don't need a physical person. But trust me, it was very hard actually, to convince him because he never seen that world, right? He come from like a very old school, doing the things and, and he was not ready to actually accept that, okay, you know what, Vikram, what you are saying it, that anybody sitting from the Brazil or Argentina can do that, right? And then we told him, why don't you try somebody that actually we actually suggested them for 30 days and you don't need to pay us anything. If nothing works, it's all on us. Right. And trust me, I mean, after 30 days, this guy come to me and said, like, Vikram, can I actually have one or two more people like that? right?
What were they doing?
I mean, they were doing just all, like a operational task that actually, this person actually, the owner of the company was doing it. So now what he has realized that in a 1 month that, okay, what, this person is capable enough that he hired, and she actually took all the task from his plate. Now he can focus more on the business development. He can spend more time with the investors. He can spend more time in finding the, the real estate where actually he can open up more pizza stores, right? He doesn't need to actually call his, like the pizza store manager to ask, hey, what do you want me to order? What grocery you need? Because this person is already doing all those tasks, right?
How did that person find you? It's kind of random. I always picture technology businesses,
Uh,
working with you or, those type of companies like software, because I know you
correct.
have developers and place developers in other various positions. How did a pizza owner find you?
Well, I mean, the pizza owner find me, that's interesting. I mean, like the pizza owner find me, I mean, through some references, as I said, I mean, like, I have another actually, the client actually who owns a lot of like a gaming parlors, as you can see, a lot of gaming parlors. I mean, so obviously the gaming parlor has some pizza concept. I mean, because they have a little pizza shop and then the gaming machines and all that, we actually work with them and we develop a platform called Bamboo Rewards. And they were friends together. And, I think over the drinks, I think they talk about, I mean, how they actually optimizing the resource and actually, like making sure that, like there is a, like enough amount of the delegation happen. And that's how actually, over another client actually help us to connect with this another retail pizza store owner.
I want to get into your journey a little bit and talk about a little bit where you grew up and then what brought you to the States.
That's a very good question. I mean, like first of all, I born and raised in India. I mean, I come from like a city called Amritsar. Most of the people, I mean, most of the people know probably Amritsar is the city of the Golden Temple. If you know a religion, I mean, one of the religion named Sikhism actually founded actually in Amritsar. So I born and raised in Amritsar. I did my, undergrad. Uh, in Amritsar. But now the second question that you ask, how did I came in United States? Well, while growing up in India or while even doing my education, I mean, I have no plan to come to United States, right? Because I come from a very different background. I mean, like I always used to tell people, I mean, when you grow up in certain circumstances where you were told to dream. I mean, coming into United States is a big dream. So I was told, I don't have a right to dream above my means. And and I come from a blue collar family. And and as you know that, I mean, when you actually born and raised in a country like India, I mean, you are destined to be a laborer, right? So there was no question of there was not even a 1%, like a 1% actually, there was not even a 1% chance of me coming to United States. So me coming into United States is all accidental. I would say like that was my destiny and I ended up coming over here.
What was the first step? It sounds like from when you're telling me the story, there's no chance of you coming here, but you did. So what was the circumstance?
Well, the circumstance was, I mean, I did my bachelor, in India, and I want to pursue higher studies in India. I mean, I was a mediocre student. I was not like like the brightest of the brightest, but for some reason I couldn't make it into my master program anywhere in India because I was looking only for those school who actually take me as a free education, right? Because of our financial restriction. I mean, my father couldn't or my parents couldn't actually afford that higher education. So I was only targeting those school that actually can give me the free education. And for some reason, because of the system in the country or because of my abilities, I couldn't able to make it. Right. And then actually, uh, there was an opportunity comes to me where that opportunity actually took me to another country in Africa. I mean, some of you probably know this country as one of the best safari in the world. But I didn't go to that country to do the best safari. I went to this country to do a work, and the name of the country is Tanzania. So at the age of 2022, at the age of 22-year old, I left India and I ended up going in, Tanzania. And my door to USA actually opened from Tanzania. So I'm always grateful to Tanzania as well. I had a great experience in that country. I mean, that was the first time actually I exposed myself to a totally different culture, totally different race, and I think I was lucky enough. I mean, such an early age, at the age of 22-year old, I mean, I was able to understand the human connection, the relationship, and the power of, and power of being just like a genuine human being. I mean, because a lot of stuff happened in Africa that made me to think that, you know, if you as a human being, I mean, you wanna try to achieve something, there's a whole universe behind it who is ready to actually help you, right? You don't necessarily need to depend it upon your family or the friends that you know them for a long time. Stranger will come forward and help you. And that happened with me. That happened with me in my life. A lot of people who know me, they know my story. And how can Jeremy? I mean, a stranger can give you 15,000 USD in a year of 2000, like a six. So that happened with me. Stranger gave me 15,000
Why?
USD.
Why do they do that?
Well, I mean, I needed them. I needed the money. I mean, that was I needed the money. I mean, to come to United States or to apply for my visa, and I borrowed 15,000 USD from them. But I returned the money. But I mean, the thing is, for me, it was a mind-boggling. I mean, me coming from a different culture, different race. I didn't born and raised in Tanzania, but somebody actually just like a stranger that I know him. Maybe last for like a 3 or 4 months, and I told him this is my problem. I really wanna apply for the US visa. And actually this person come forward and he's like, you know what, I'm here to help you out. So so that is very human to me. That was very surreal to me.
What was it like then when you came to the US?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, when I came in US, I mean, think about like, like as a kid in a, like a candy shop, right? Like you come in United States. I mean, it was a mind-boggling for me to see the infrastructure in United States, right? Because I have never seen anything like that. I mean, I grew up in India. I actually ended up going in Tanzania, and now I'm actually in one of the richest country in the world, right? So think about it. I mean, like I always say this to people. I mean, I see the world like, India, I mean, uh, coming from the middle class country, the poorest country, and now I'm one of the richest country in the world. Obviously, I mean, everything looks great to me. I mean, and thanks to my friend, I mean, who came to pick me up from the airport, and obviously, I mean, the moment you come out of the US, the first thing you see the roads and cleanliness, and that was mind blowing to me.
Describe the scene in India and then Africa compared to the US then.
I mean, it's I mean, it's a very hard to describe that. I mean, but I'm gonna try my best. I mean, I mean, for example, I mean, if you go to India, I mean, there is a lot of chaos. I mean, because obviously one of the biggest population in the world. I mean, people are nice, but obviously there's a lot of things that are happening at the same time, right? Uh, you know, in Africa, I mean, things are very slow. In Africa, people call this no hurry, no worry. This is Africa, right? Now in US, I mean, you just come over here. I mean, here you feel like everything is on like some sort of like a cruise mode, right? The cars are stopping at the light when actually they're supposed to stop, right? Everybody's following a process, very process oriented, you know.
Where did you actually first land when you came here?
I landed in Washington, D.C.
Why there?
because one of my college friend, I mean, one of my college friend, he used to live in the Washington, D.C. and he was the only hope of me to coming in the United States because I have When I came in 2008, I had nobody from my family, who was in US. So that was my only hope. And then he said like, hey, you come to Washington, DC. And then I said, okay, I'll come.
Were you coming here? Did you have something set up to do school here, or did you just come on a whim and you're like, I'll figure it out when I get there?
Yeah, I just come on a whim. I just I come here as a tourist.
So
Yes,
what
but
were you planning on doing?
see, I mean, while
It's
growing
so
up,
interesting, right? I mean, were you planning to stay indefinitely? You're just like, I'm gonna come.
see, I mean, I want you to understand that, I mean, when actually you grew up outside United States, United States has always been like, land of opportunities. That's how the people see this outside United States, right? And also, I mean, as if you remember, I was always want to go for the higher education, right? So now I happen to come in United States. I have no plan. I have no family, but I have one dream that I want to go for the higher education in United States because you are in United States. United States has the best school in the world, right? So that was very like in your world, in entrepreneurial world, we call this bag, right? The big hairy audacious goal, right? So in my head, having no money in the pocket, I'm thinking, hey, you know what, I'm in the right country right now. I want to go for the higher education. That's all I has in my head, but I have no money in the pocket.
So
So
then how do you make that happen? Education is expensive when you got here.
well, I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, I personally believe where there is a will, there is a way, right? And what happened in Africa, where actually the stranger come forward and acquaintance come forward to help me out. I mean, I had realized that, the law of attraction, very quickly, early stages of my life. When I came over here, obviously, I mean, as when you come over here, I started working as a I started my career as a dishwasher because I couldn't find any job over here. 2008, Jeremy, that that's not the best year to come in United States, and especially, I mean, none of the retail store were ready to give any jobs. So I ended up going into as a dishwashing. I did dishwashing at that time. My English was also not very great. My English was broken, so during the dishwashing, I able to learn a different culture over there because I was actually working with a lot of people from the Latin America, right? From people from the Mexico, people from Guatemala, people from Honduras, Brazil, all sort of the different people. The only one thing was common with me and with them was, their English was broken, my English was broken. Right. So we both kind of consider each other at the equal level, right? And to be honest, I mean, they were the only one who come forward and actually, and accepted me as their own first. I've been into a lot of different situations where actually uh, a lot of people from India, they look down at me. I'm sorry to say that, but most of the people who born and raised over here as an Indian American, I mean, they were making fun of my accent, right? But the people from the Latin America, they were not, because even though I didn't speak
People
Spanish,
from India were making fun of your accent?
yes, 100% people who born and raised over
That
here.
seems weird.
I mean, well, I mean, there is, people say that racism actually racism doesn't restrict only at the color level. In my experiences, racism exists at a various different level, right? Like for example, maybe I look same the way I look I, but they're probably looking at me and they're probably laughing at me. Oh, you know what? You're pronouncing this word incorrect. Then they laughed at me, right? Definitely English is not my first language, but that happened with me, uh, but not everybody's like that. But what where I feel more, like a closeness, with the people from the Latin America, because as I said, maybe the commonality was I don't know the language, they don't know the language. Even though I don't speak Spanish, I don't speak Portuguese, they don't speak Hindi or Punjabi that I speak. So we used to communicate with each other with our hand gestures, with our literally, I mean, the pure emotions, the face and all that. So that bring a lot more closer to me to that culture actually,
What did
and
you want to go to school for then at the time at you went on to Georgetown, right?
yeah, I mean, but but going to the Georgetown was not easy ride. because obviously, there is a story behind it of how that happened, dishwashing to the Georgetown. Uh, like when I came in this country, I want to go for the higher education. And this is where actually, while working the kitchen, this is where actually I met Piyush, who happens to be my business partner, right? He came into the kitchen, and then I asked him, I want to go for the higher education, is there a way that you can help me, right? He said like, yeah, this is my business card. Why don't you call me? I said like, you know what? In US, everybody give a business card, but nobody picks up the phone. Everything goes to the voicemail. I'm already very frustrated. Please don't give me your business card. And he said, I'm not that type of the person. Maybe you just call me, I'll help you. And then I remember that actually I called him, and I said, hey, you know what? This is where I want to go. This is I want to go for the higher education. And I remember that. He picked me up. He took me to some of the schools. Then actually I was able to get myself into one of like a very small school. I don't think so that school exists anymore. It's named Stratford, very private school. I actually went over there and actually I got admission, right? Now I'm working as in a restaurant, so that everything is going fine. But while working in a Stratford University, I still feel like, that's not the school that actually I imagine in my dreams. Because when actually as an immigrant, you see American university, what comes into your head? You, your head comes, like a big, you know, the big campuses, right? Lush green gardens, like all those buildings comes. But where I was going in a school, there was a simple like office building, and I was going over there once in a week, right? And and I was not learning anything new because that school was there, but I was not learning anything. And then one day, actually, I was in the kitchen, and then I was on my break. I was browsing an internet, and I asked the owner of the restaurant, "Hey, you know what? There is a one school pop up," and I was so naive. I asked the owner of the restaurant, "What do you think about this Georgetown?" And then the owner of the restaurant looked at me, and he's like, "Are you kidding me? This is one of the best school in the country. What are you trying to do over here? Are you trying to go over there and get admission?" I said, like, I didn't ask you about that. I asked you, how is the school? He's like, I said, it's a great school. uh, the long story short, then I asked my, current partner, the business partner, hey, you know what? How is the school? He said, like, it's a great school. And he said, like, you should apply for that school. And he jokingly told me, like, you know what? You should go and meet people there. You know, I took it very seriously. I ended up going over there and meet the dean of the Georgetown.
Did
Uh,
you just walk up and knock on his door or what? Or her
yes,
door?
yeah,
Yeah.
I just knock on the door. Right, yeah. So, and I was lucky enough, I was able to get it through.
And what did you say when you walked in?
I was
Can
so
you let me in here? Like what?
No, 100%. No, you're right. Like, I think about it. At that time, my vocabulary was very limited, So that's what I said. He asked me, "How can I help you, son?" And I said, like, you know what, sir. This is how I used to pronounce at that time. I said, like, sir. I need admission in the school, and I need your help. So I was very direct, and he said, like, well, this is not admission office, right? But then obviously, we had a conversation almost like a 20 minutes, and then actually, I was able to convince him to give me the admission, and but there were some conditions, and I fulfill all those conditions, and uh, and I was able to get myself into Georgetown.
What were you studying there when you went?
I actually studied over there entrepreneurial biotechnology.
Hmm.
That's the first time that I heard the word entrepreneur from Georgetown, right? Because me coming from, like, my entire schooling in India was in a public schooling, and um, anyone actually who's listening me from India, they know that, what does that mean is, if you come from like a public school from India. So for me, entrepreneurial word, first time I actually listened in Georgetown. So thanks to Georgetown, to teach me, the entrepreneurial, like the mindset.
So Vikram, once you finished there,
Mhm.
when did you start working with your current business partner?
Well, like once I finish over there, obviously, I was looking for a job, right? I was looking for a job actually in a pharmaceutical world or in a biotechnology world. There is a funny story also. I mean, like, if you allow me, I mean, I'll happy to share that, how that happened. I mean, you know, see, I mean, when I actually graduated from the Georgetown, I was actually international student, right? So obviously, I mean, I have a lot of visa restriction and everything. A lot of time, I mean, all these big companies, I mean, like, they say that, I mean, we are open for everybody, you know, E and O, blah, 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 right? But the moment you apply, your application doesn't even go to them. All those applicant tracking system, they rule you out. The moment you say that I need a sponsorship in the future, right? No call, right?
Mm,
Doesn't
right.
matter, So obviously, I mean, I didn't get any phone call. I was getting frustrated because having a degree from the Georgetown, and the clock was ticking, and
You need a job to stay in the country.
yes, yes, I needed a job. And then one day, I mean, like I was standing in the bus stop. Somebody, I mean, I think the lady was from US, and she looked at me. I looked at her, and she asked me out of the blue. I mean, she asked where this accent come from, right? My accent, and I said like, yeah, I mean, I born and raised in India. Before I say anything, she said like, oh, you must be working in technology. Right? You must be working in a technology. I said no at that time, but then I came back home. First, I thought like, okay, why she was labeling me? But then actually I
Why
thought,
she's labeling me. Right.
right, but then I thought like, you know what? She gave me the great idea, right? She gave me the great idea because you know what? Maybe I'm banging the wrong door. Maybe I am not over here for the working of pharmaceutical. Maybe this face is not for that. Maybe this accent is not for that. This lady is teaching me something. She's my guru. I mean, if today I met her, I wanna say thank you to her. Because then I went back home and I told myself, you know what? I gotta need to do something, and then I get myself into technology, project management and all that. And the rest is a history now. That's why we have our Simpalm, technology business. Obviously, I mean, the later I joined Piyush. Piyush is actually PhD from John Hopkins. He didn't tell me. He told me when I actually graduated from the Georgetown because he doesn't want me to feel bad that, what, that he went to such a big school and I didn't go. But when actually I graduated from the Georgetown, then he told me, hey, there is a surprise for you. I have a PhD from John Hopkins. But that was the back to the story. The lady was a reason I stepped into the technology. You
And
know.
then at what point do you reconnect or do you kind of
Mhm.
forge that business relationship?
I mean, that was I remember that. I mean, I was working for some companies. I mean, like because I work as a consultant for the corporation, and then one day actually I remember that Piyush invited me a dinner at his home. He used to live in Maryland, and on the dining table, Piyush at that time already started Simpalm. He was doing this custom. I mean, how this, like the staff augmentation has been working and how is this being actually been handled here in United States. And I think, uh, we can do in a better way. And then he said like, but that, I mean, you are going against a lot of big companies, I said like, but I want to try. And then as usual, he said, if you want to try, I'm in, I already have this company that I actually registered. Why don't you actually work with me and try your idea? And then actually I ask, what would if this idea work? Then he said like, then we will be a partner, right? And then he allowed me to work on my idea, which was more on the human side, the staffing side, and that works out, you know.
Vikram, what strikes me about the journey and the story is your mindset.
Hmm.
Each piece you could have stopped. You could have given up. You could have listened to everyone else who says, this is impossible. What was it early on? You could have never left India in the first place, right? What do you think it was in you that's like, you know what? I know that I grew up in this blue collar family, but I'm going to do this other thing. I'm getting out of here to the US or Africa or whatever it is. What was it? Where did you get that mindset from, you think?
I think, I always say this necessity is a mother of invention, right? When you have nothing to lose, you have to play your card, right? I mean, for example, when I came in US, I mean, yeah, I could have actually adopted that path where actually, I could ended up actually in the restaurant industry and actually, working actually as a undocumented or working actually as a, but I saw the life of those people when actually I was living in the same home where actually all the Latin American were living. I was listening their firsthand stories, right? And then I told myself, you know what, if I wanna, and even they told me, in the Spanish that I can understand that, they told me like, what, this world is not for you. And then I told myself, if I want to live in United States, I need to go and educate myself, right? Because I don't want to have that life. And now, you know what, you saw like where I get this positivity, the energy, I think from the people. Because think about it, I mean, all the people, the Latin American people that I'm living with them, they have no blood relationship with me, but they have an expectation. Okay, this guy will do something different because they were watching while I'm going to the school and I'm also washing the dishing. So for them, actually, you know what? Really doesn't matter what country I come from. For them, it really doesn't matter. I mean, what religion I come from. For them, what really mattered was I am working with them in the same kitchen, and this is a guy actually who tried to do something different. So there, all the positive, the blessings were helping me in somehow that give me the power so that I can go and knock the door of the dean with my broken English.
The other thing that strikes me is that you, even from getting to the US and then getting into Georgetown and further, you put it out there
Mhm.
and you ask, right?
Yeah.
You know, you just take action. You
Mhm.
march down, you knock on the dean's door, you ask. Probably same thing. You weren't like hoping and dreaming of $15,000 to get the visa to come over to the US. Like you probably put it out there, I imagine. You talked to a bunch of people, how do I do this? And you asked, and you took action on it. Yes, of course, like someone was generous to help you,
Yes.
but you have to put it out there, right? And that's what you did. I'm wondering, I have one last question. Vikram, first of all, thank you. Thanks for sharing your journey. It's fascinating. It's amazing what you've done. You plop someone in a foreign country and then, with nothing,
Mhm.
no money or anything. And so
Yes.
it's really amazing. So I have one last question about some of your entrepreneurial influences
Mhm.
throughout the years, but I do want to, encourage people to check out simpalm.com, check out simpalmstaffing.com. You could check out ducknowl.com. But who are some of your entrepreneurial influences? It could be colleagues, mentors, it could be distant people that you've learned from, whether it's books or podcasts or something like
Sure.
that as well.
I'm very simple man, so I have a very simple idols as well. I think the first one, I mean, the person that actually who gave me 15,000 USD, right? I think if he would not have given me that kind of money, I would never be able to make it over here, right? I and then I think another one. I mean the owner of the restaurant, right? The owner of the restaurant. I learned so much from him. I mean the leadership style, right? For example, I mean I was very new in the country, and he was the one who said like like what you should do so that you can actually be better, right? So I mean I'm still in touch with him. I mean whenever I go to Virginia, I meet him. Uh, he's the one. I think my another idol was the dean of the Georgetown the biotechnology department, who was visionary enough to see that spark, right? If he would not give me the chance, I would never able to make it. You know, other idols. I mean, all those people. I mean, I work with them. I mean, in the restaurant industry. I mean, specifically, I mean, in the kitchen. I saw them. I mean, how their resilience, right? I saw them. I mean, it's very easy to say that, but it's very hard to live that life where actually you don't see your family for last 10 years. You're working over here and sending them the money, right? Those were my idol, right? Who made me who I am. That's why probably, the God has given me the chance to work in the people business, right? Maybe I'm not into some other business. I don't own a gas station. I don't own any restaurant. I came into the people business because my entire life is all about the people, and all those people, come from nowhere, you
What
know.
about through EO or EMP?
Well, yes, the EO came in my life. In a later down the year. That. You are also the EO member. The uh when actually I reached certain milestone. Then actually I ended up joining EO. EO actually opened up a very different world, right? The EO actually gave me the opportunity to meet people uh, with a similar mindset, right? Where actually my connection can go up to the global level, right? For example, Jeremy, I was in Brazil and I was in Argentina. 10 days before, I met a lot of awesome people over there, right? And there are a lot of good people in EO who want to do the good deeds with a lot of people, who are actually who actually come from like the world that actually has nothing to offer to them. So I think EO gave me the power of the connection that actually my connection is not only limited to Chicago only. My connection is all the way now from, start from India to start and to the Brazil. So almost, you can cover the entire world, with this EO connection. And EO actually ended up, uh, you know, thanks to EO, I ended up meeting a great person like you. So EO played a very vital role in my journey as well.
Vikram, I want to thank you. Everyone check out simpalm.com and duckinowl.com, and we'll see you next time. Vikram,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much, Sammy. Thank you.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.